Hi, and welcome to my January Epiphany Solutions Experts video. Today what I'm going to be doing is taking you through some of the various amends that have been happening through January, some of the important stuff that's come to light during January. On the understanding that Google said they weren't going to do any updates during the holiday period. They've obviously kind of queued up quite a few things during that period, and now we're clear of that. January's been quite a busy month in terms of little amends and tweaks, so I'll give you a bit of an update on all things that have been happening. So, firstly, January the 18th saw the latest iteration of Google Panda, which is 3.2. If you don't know what Google Panda is, I recommend visiting the Epiphany blog site to see a couple of blog posts that I wrote on the subject, discussing exactly what Panda is and what you can do about it and why it's important. The latest update, so 3.2 on January the 18th, was a data refresh. So there was no fundamental changes to the algorithm, so nothing new to really worry about, but this is an iterative algorithm in terms of Google has to press a button to activate it, and this is them doing that basically on January the 18th. So it's likely that you may, if you have seen any changes, which you really shouldn't have, because by now you should be up to speed on what Panda is and how to avoid it, and should be out of what we call the Panda trap. It's likely to have been Panda that caused it on that date. The only really main difference is that, of course, because this holiday period thing that Google actually stuck to this year, there's normally a 3 to 5 week cycle of Panda updates. In this instance, it's been 2 months since Panda rolled out. Second thing I want to make you aware of is Google's change that they announced on January the 19th, which was to the page layout update algorithm. Now what this is Google uses various page analysis and block level segmentation techniques to try and work out what areas of a page are what. So what's the navigation, what are advertisements, what's the main content, what's of value, what isn't, these kind of likes. Now Google one of the things that Panda was aimed to try and negate was these sorts of sites that produce very weak content and wrap it all in adverts, and primarily sites that aim to just quickly get people off their site via adverts to generate revenue. And this is another attempt to kind of neuter some of those sites. So in this instance, Google's looking for sites that specifically have a large amount of ad real estate above the fold. So when you first load the page, there's adverts everywhere. Google have classified this as sites that have, in quotes, a small amount of content above the fold. So people have obviously been complaining to Google apparently that they're landing on pages from the Google search results that don't give them the answers they want. Instead, they kind of drive them elsewhere. This isn't a very good user experience, so Google are trying to counter it. There's been a lot of talk about worry about sites that have a lot of image content in above the fold. Don't actually you have to scroll down to actually get to the content and all that kind of stuff. This isn't what Google's trying to counter here. Google's trying to counter a very niche kind of demographic of sites. So sites that have got like form objects that are above the fold and nothing else, or images image banners that kind of rotate around the front. As long as they're all tied towards the site and they're steering people back into the site in different internal pages, they're fine. This isn't what Google's trying to negate. Google's trying to work out whether your site is just a kind of quick kind of shunt people off kind of site where you've got a lot of real estate above the fold that links out to external websites and things like that, and they're the sort of ones they're trying to go after. The third little update that I want to make you aware of is quite a major one. It's a change to Google's privacy policy. So Google is fundamentally a collection of 60 or 70 different kind of tools, applications and whatnot, each one of which has its own privacy policy at the moment. So Google Docs handles your data a slightly different way from Gmail, which handles it a different way from your Google account as a whole, which is different from YouTube, etc. Now, Larry Page is very interested in taking Google as a unified direction towards the Google, what they call the Google Plus Your World situation, where everything kind of drives towards personalization of your Google experience, and Google becomes more of a hub rather than its current inclination as a search engine. So against the trend of failing websites such as Yahoo that were historically kind of very hub orientated, Google looks like it's now trying to head towards that way as well, which seems very strange. But what they've done is they've taken all their privacy policies and rewritten them to be one unified privacy policy across a large range of the products. What this generally means at a very high level is that from March the 1st, which is when this new privacy policy comes into effect, Google will be able to use information, access and use information from your Google Docs, your Gmail, your YouTube account, and all of this to actually steer your personalization of your Google experience. So, anything that you've written ever in a Google Doc, anything you've ever received in an email, anything you've ever kind of favorited in your YouTube stream, all this kind of stuff is going to be examined and potentially used to steer the personalized experience. It's something just to be wary of, really, especially for people in our industry and technical people to understand. The fourth thing I want to talk about today is more an observation that I've made during January, and that is that the Google +1 button, which is the button you can put on your site that people can click in a similar way to a Facebook like or to tweet something, is having a very strange effect in terms of how it reacts to no indexes and the robot.txt file. Now, another thing that I've written about previously on the Epiphany blog is to talk about how you can keep pages out of the index, and primarily this is down to kind of adding tags to your pages or using a robot.txt file. The Google +1 button negates both of these so in effect, if you put a Google +1 button on your page, you are explicitly giving Google permission to index that page. Even if you've said elsewhere, so in your robot.txt file, that you don't want the Google bot to visit it or index this page. By putting the +1 button on there, you're trumping all of those and giving it the express permission to index that page. So it's something to be wary of if you apply these social buttons to an overall template where you might inadvertently be overwriting anything you've ever thought that you had in place regarding kind of keeping certain pages out of the index. If you've not handled your duplicate content you've handled it by kind of no indexing various stuff. If you then go and put G+ on those, they're going to come back into the fray again and start causing you another headache. So it's something to be very wary of. The final thing I want to talk about today is quite a good one, in that Google has changed the way that it represents data related to average search ranking within Google Webmaster Tools and the search reports within Google Analytics. So historically, you've been able to see in Webmaster Tools, for example, the terms that you have some form of ranking for, the amount of traffic there is on those terms, how many clicks you've got, what that click-through rate is, and your average position. Now, this average position metric previously has been reported as all of the positions that you held when that search was made. So if you were first and third and 29th, say, you add those two together and find the average. So 29 and 1, 30, so your average position is 15th. And then you then do the same thing for all the searches for that term and find the average of all those as well. Now what's happening is only the top listing from that first phase is counted. So if I rank first and third and 29th, my average ranking from there is taken as first, and then all the other kind of rankings are applied to it. Rather than, and the way this is better is that obviously if I rank first, if I've got my homepage ranks first and my About Us page ranks 30th, the chances of someone clicking that, before it was just averaging the two out, but the chances of someone clicking the first listing are significantly higher than somebody clicking the 30th listing. So really the 30th listing is completely obsolete when trying to work out what your click-through rate is and what your actual average position is. There's no value of using that metric. So the new metric is a lot stronger, and actually means that potentially we can now start using Webmaster Tools data as a way of reporting in terms of here's what your average position has been, here's what your, those kind of metrics, because in a situation where personalization is going to start having a bigger effect on, there'll be no kind of average ranking, as it were. This is the one way of actually kind of getting at that data. I hope this has been a bit an insightful video for you to watch. As always, there's more information on a lot of these topics on the Epiphany Solutions blog. The email address is the address of which is appearing now. I look forward to seeing you for our February video.